What do short-term rentals and TikTok have in common? You're going to find out on today's show.
Welcome to Real Estate Investing Secrets. We're all looking for freedom and the opportunity to live better, more fulfilling lives. But most of us were trained our entire lives to work for someone else and chase their dreams. How can we use real estate investing as a vehicle to achieve financial freedom? My life is dedicated to answering your real estate investing questions and helping you build an investing business that allows you to change your life and the world around you, and to enable you to turn your dreams of financial freedom into a reality. My name is Mike Hambright from FlipNerd.com, and your questions get answered here on the Real Estate Investing Secrets Show.
Hey, Kevin, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Dylan, nice to see you again. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your podcast. It's been an honor.
Of course. It's been a long time coming. My good friend, Kevin Lee, I'm not going to give you any of his background because I always do it when I have guests on the show. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit about it. But we talked about you coming on at our last Investor Fuel event. So finally, we're doing it right before our next Investor Fuel event. That way, at this Investor Fuel event, we can talk about some other fun marketing things that we can do together instead, right?
That's right.
Cool. So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what market you are in, and kind of how you got started in real estate investing.
Cool. So I started real estate investing when I was 30 years old, back in 2010, and I was just buying rental properties passively, and I was also I had a W-2 job, back then as well. So I was in the tech industry. I was in the tech industry for 7 years, and I quit in 2017 and started pursuing real estate full time. So my business right now is like Airbnb and then fix and flip. Yeah, so we do pretty much, I would say 50-50 of both. Yeah. And the fix and flip business actually help us to the down payment, create a down payment for us to acquire those short-term rentals. Yeah.
Cool. So this is called the Real Estate Investing Secret Show. We are on the Flip Nerd. I'm trying to do it this way. Flip Nerd Podcast Network. So we have to tell a little bit of our secrets, right, Kevin? So when you had your full-time W-2 job still, and a lot of us, we go to college, we work really hard to get into those positions, but somehow it's kind of like we get bit by this real estate or entrepreneurship bug. So what was it about real estate investing that really drew you in?
I think it was when I was really young that I remember this, my mom, she was a high school teacher. In the back of her mind, she was already thinking about how I can get passive income. And she started, acquiring rentals back then. So that bug was actually planted into me when I was really young. I still remember to this day that this is back in Taiwan. I came to this country when I was 14. That I would ride on her scooter, in the back of her scooter, and we go post those flyers, houses for rent, and we would put them on the poles and the public bulletin boards. And there's strips in the back of the, we would cut these little strips with our phone numbers, on the bottom of the flyer, and people would just tear that off and they would just contact us that way. So we would go and advertise, these houses for rent. And we will also go into the rental units and we do the rent ready. We will clean out the units ourselves, my mom and I. So we would do the groundwork, and that's how I caught that real estate bug. So in the back of my mind, I just thought that, hey, I don't know anything else that will give me the passive income other than real estate. And this is something that I wanted to do when I grew up. So I did it, when I had some saving. When I was working as a W-2 employee, and I was able to use that saving to just multiply and to grow that passive income.
Yeah, that's a super awesome story. So I've known you, Kevin, for pretty much 4 years now, and I've got my 4-year trophy from Investor Fuel somewhere behind me. So I've made it 4 years or whatever. But so I've known you 4 years. I kind of know your story, but I've never known that. And when you have these conversations and you really get deep into what kind of made us who we are today, not just as entrepreneurs or you know, as investors, but almost as men and as people, right? Or women too, I guess. It's only two guys on the podcast today, but that's really exciting, like to know that backstory, because I think when that's built into you, and especially you're coming from a different country, I've got a lot of friends who are immigrants from all around the world. And, you know, it's kind of like a saying, you know, I was born here in America, so we're a little bit lazier a lot of times than the immigrants who come here, because they see an opportunity that we're born with, right? So the regular Americans are like, how many friends do I have that don't have rental properties, or didn't have that dream, or weren't cleaning out rentals at 14 years old, or basically doing like bandit signs almost, or guerrilla marketing, you know, on the back of a moped in another country. So I think that builds something inside you that, of course, no one can ever take away, and it makes you a better business person and stronger.
For sure. For sure. I think when your back is against the wall, right, and you really have nothing to lose, right? So anything, you're just open to trying anything, everything. You know, I didn't grow up with, you know, my family didn't grow up with lots of money, right? We're just kind of like on the lower end of the middle class family income bracket. So yeah, so my mom was always, you know, she has that mentality of saving every dollar, and she has that mentality of not owing anybody any debt. But you know, Robert Kiyosaki, you know, he mentioned about the good debt and the bad debt. So there's a paradigm shift that, you know, you need to have as well. You know, buying a fancy car, that's really, you know, kind of like a bad debt. But you know, owning real estate and use that the rental income to, you know, pay off the mortgage and, you know, accumulate that equity, that's a good debt. So she doesn't like to owe any money to anybody. So everything that she has is all pay off. So that's a paradigm that needs to be changed, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I've talked to a lot of first generation, and you're not even first generation, really. I mean, you came when you were 14, but you're kind of first generation, at least building your own business here. So that paradigm shift can be tough, but again, you've got the old school behind you, that foundation that will never be taken away or shaken. And then you kind of have that new school way of thinking. And you're one of the only guys I know who I believe still owns multiple luxury vehicles or sports cars, right? And you don't hardly drive any of them. You just lease them out to other people.
Yeah, I still do that. And that's another like kind of like passive income business that I have. And you know, we just rent out our cars on Turo. And yeah, it's good. So
Yeah.
I'm about like side hustle, like anything that can make money that I'm open to, like anything that can create passive income without me being in the business. I'm so open to like investing in those.
So I think a lot of newer investors and a lot of our listeners and viewers are just getting started, or maybe getting to that next level. So when did you figure out that you are kind of addicted to this idea of passive income versus just flipping, or being a wholesaler, or just being a regular landlord, you know, like what most investors talk about?
I guess I was never worried about money, even though I knew that, you know, we need money to really kind of like survive. We need money to pay for food, pay for utility, and so forth, right? But at a certain point, it's almost just like it's a byproduct of the work that you put into wherever that you're passionate about. So I guess I was really passionate about real estate. And I tell you, it gives me so much gratification to turn an ugly duckling of a distressed property into like a beautiful swan of just, oh my God, I just want to own that property, right? You walk into a house, you look at the kitchen, you look at the bathroom, you look at the flooring, you look at the decor of the home. You say, hey, I want this home. I want to live in it, right? So that gives me a sense of gratification. I mean, I believe that everybody is a creator, right? We're meant to meant to create something on this earth, right? So I guess I was given this I guess passion, or
Ability, gift, all the above.
Right, to create something like this, and just want to do something with hard assets, if you will. And I think real estate for me is kind of like the entry to create something with my own hands and also with my creative mind.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit later about creating marketing, because I'm a big marketing guy. So are you now, and I don't want to jump into that yet. But we're going to talk a lot about short form video and TikTok and Reels and Shorts, all that cool stuff. But before we get there, what advice do you have to newer investors, maybe even not new, but those who are not yet doing? We call it Airbnb, but it's really short term rental, right? So what advice do you have for someone like me? I don't have any short term rentals. How do I get started? How do I approach it?
I would say that first of all, it's about the mindset. I think that you have to close the doing and the knowing gap. We can know a lot, but if we don't do, right, it doesn't really mean anything. I'm a person of just application. I just apply what I learned and I try to close the knowing and the doing gap. I stumbled upon Airbnb, in the earlier stages of my career, like we fix and flip a lot of properties. I thought to myself, hey, there must be a way for us to also, cash flow on those properties, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's, when we sell a flip, we got to hunt, and look for the next deal, right? So it's just a transactional business, and it doesn't really, help us to grow passive income, right? To get cash flow that way, right? You sell a house, that's it, and you got to go and look for another deal. So and in California, like unlike all the other states in the Midwest, we can't really possibly cash flow on a $300,000-$400,000 home, right? The mortgage payment versus the rent that you get, it's just kind of like upside down, right? You ended up just having negative cash flow every single month. So for us to really make it work, and I call it the BRRRR 2.0, yeah, the BRRRR strategy 2.0, is that instead of renting it long term, we just rent it short term, and usually can get anywhere from $130 to $150 a night. And not only are you able to just pay out the underlying mortgage obligation, you'll get about like $1,500 to $2,000 of cash flow there per property. So if you can just do like, I don't know, imagine you do 2 or a year, 5 years, you'll get $20,000 of passive income, right?
Yeah. So you mentioned your California market. I don't think you talked about being in Sacramento specifically, but what is a regular, we'll just try to do this really quick, not go too deep, but a regular fix and flip, your average profit in today on a fix and flip and the time invested versus finding one of those long-term rentals. At what point do you make as much money on your long-term rental as you did on your fix and flip, except that long-term rental keeps going?
Right. So we make about $60,000 per flip, and we like to buy homes around, like right now, right? It's about like the late 200s, so like or the early 300s, or that kind of range, and we flip it and then sell it for 450, and we make about 50-60,000. So assuming, right, each home is giving you like $2,000 of cash flow, you can make that $60,000 back with 30 properties. Okay, it may sound like a lot, right? But you have to also factor in the fact that you don't have to work anymore. You just own that 30 properties, and if you have management in place, right? Because I do, and I'm not really in the business. It's just purely 60,000 go to you, and $60,000 a month. That's a lot of money for a lot of individual, right? Imagine what you can do with $60,000 of profit. That's coming to your, that's almost close to $1 million a month.
Yeah, and what's the we don't have to talk about this, but thinking a little deeper, like what's the borrowing power on $60,000 a month if you can prove that that's coming in? So you can borrow a lot of money if you can prove to someone that you're bringing in $60,000 a month. So what do you love best, just you yourself, about short-term rentals?
I've gotten a lot of properties from burnout landlords, and I get PTSD just by looking at these houses. And I don't ever want to put myself in that situation. I'm not saying that I'm not a responsible landlord or anything. Nobody wants to be a slumlord, right? But at the end of the day, it's not really your property, and you would not take care of that property as if it's yours. So I get it from the perspective of a tenant, right? And and you're not really living in the property, so you don't really know. So you're really dependent upon your tenant to tell you, hey, this is wrong. Hey, you got to fix this. And sometimes tenants don't tell you, or sometimes tenants are okay with the deferred maintenance, right? And so when you have tenants that move out, you usually get like a $10,000-$15,000, I don't know, right, of repair, big ticket items, right? And that's not really always easy to like kind of swallow, right? So I'm the person that I just want to maintain my properties really well. So every time if there's anything that breaks, we can just address those. So I think that the value of these properties, you can retain a lot more value of these properties because they get taken care of a lot more better than the properties that's rented to long-term tenants.
Yeah, it's basically called moral hazard, right? It's like if you've got a 16-year-old son and you give him a brand new red Corvette, how hard is he going to work to take care of that versus if he's 50 years old and he saved every penny that he ever made to buy that Corvette, right? Exactly. So they just don't care as much. Doesn't mean that some don't care, but in general, you're going to have a little bit of heartache when you have a lot of tenants.
Yeah, for sure.
What would you say the biggest mistake that you see real estate investors making when they move into short-term rentals in the very beginning?
So I think that it's been talked about so much right now that it seems like if you talk to anybody, any real estate investor on the street, they'll say, I want to do short-term rental. Yeah. But they don't really understand that the number has to work out too, right? You can't just buy a luxury short-term rental and expect that to make $10,000 a month, right? It's not really turnkey that way. There's a lot of support system around it, right? You need to have, I tell you, cleaning is so foundational to this business. If cleaning is not done right, you get one or two of bad reviews, you're basically over, right? I mean, just imagine yourself checking yourself into a hotel and then you see a hair on a toilet seat, right? You would just call and say, hey, I want a room change. And maybe the next thing is the hotel is going to get a bad review from you. So they do a lot of just making sure those things don't happen. If they happen, they'll probably give you a free stay, something like that. And we don't want that to happen to us because that means it's just 3 days, 4 days of loss, right? Money. So I say that the biggest mistake that a newbie can make is not to really consider the things that will have to kind of make sure it's happening seamlessly and working really well, for this to happen. Yeah, we look at the numbers, but a lot of times, right, we don't look at the downside or the risks that's associated with. And the most important thing is to mitigate those risks so that you go into the business and you have the right kind of expectation.
Yeah, I think customers nowadays, I thank God I don't have a business where I have 100 customers walking in every day because people are so quick to complain. And I know that, you've traveled a lot, and I don't know if we travel more than the average person, but we get to see each other because we get to travel. And there's nothing worse than rolling into a hotel room at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. and it's dirty or stinky or whatever. And it's like, even if you change it, the other one's probably stinky too. So what do you do, right? So it's it's a great point for Airbnb owners or for short-term rental owners. Is it should be spick and span, like walking into a Mercedes dealership. You should be able to, touch the floor with your finger and not have any dust on it.
Yeah, and a lot of people, right, like you and I, we're traveling for work, but a lot of people are traveling for vacation, and they wouldn't mind paying the extra, I don't know, $100 per night, whatever, right, just to get the experience, because the comfort of the pillow, the bed, means so much to their vacation and the overall experience, right? I wouldn't mind. I don't know about you. I wouldn't mind paying, a couple, $100 more just so that I can have a good time. I can create like everlasting moments, memories with my family, right? So that means so much to me. And I want to make sure that as a, responsible host, I can provide that experience and, moments for guests that's traveling, whether they're here for work or for vacation. Yeah.
Yeah. And Kevin, you're building a brand, whether we know it or not, right? You're building a brand as a short-term rental owner, and you need, for now anyways, you need those websites to say great things about you, because if somebody's in there saying bad things, it's terrible. I'm never going to rent an Airbnb if it says it, like I said, it was stinkier. Like you said, there's some weird stuff all over in the bathroom or something like that. It's like, no, thank you. I choose the next one. Right. So, so talking about branding, well, before we go on to that, let me ask you this. So, you and I met because of Investor Fuel, right? So, nationwide mastermind, not really a networking group, but there's a lot of networking that goes on there when we do mastermind, right? So we talk about each other's challenges, help each other kind of get to the next level, and hang out and have fun. So, before Investor Fuel, and I guess like when you first started as a real estate investor, how important was networking to you then versus how important it is to you today?
I think that networking is so important from the very beginning, especially in this line of work, right? That because I I think that you cannot live on an island by yourself, right? There's a lot of support system you need to have as a real estate investor, whether a real estate investor or a realtor. So much the more, because realtor, you have to network with home sellers, you have to network with realtors in your office, your brokers and other agents and so forth, right? And you probably need to network with lenders. You do a lot of open houses to get contact information, and you put them into a follow-up campaign, and then you touch up, follow up with them like every now and then. That's how you get your business, right? For us, it's the same too. Like we have to do a lot of follow-ups, right, with these homeowners that's in our database, say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, are you interested in selling your home right now? Maybe 2-3 months ago, it wasn't a good time, but are you ready to move on? The market is still doing well, right? It's still good to sell right now. Are you open to making that move, right? So you need to always constantly touch up, and it really just, I go and I network with realtors so that they know Kevin is a big time flipper in town, and he's ready to buy that house, distressed home that you cannot sell on the market, right? Just, give me the first tip, right? Before you just, blast it out on the open, market. I'm willing to pay, all cash. I can close in 14 days or less. That's my, promise to you. And, I'll do whatever I can to close that house for you, right? And I've done that many, many times. That's why I have that relationship or that trust with the realtors, and they can, go on our website and see all the testimonials. So that instant credibility is so important, right? I'm sorry, I forgot your question.
Oh, I was talking about, like how important networking is to your business, not necessarily just Investor Fuel and what we do together, but just in general.
Yeah. So that's so important. And I think especially when you start in this business, is the way that I started is I started going to, the RIAs, right? The local RIA. And that's how I met the wholesalers, and I got to find out the biggest wholesaler in town, right? I actually went to her house to pick her brain and to pick up all the marketing tactics, right? Direct to seller marketing tactics from her. And that's kind of like, I think that's worth, it's priceless. Yeah, tons of value there, right? And I wouldn't trade for anything less. So I think especially when you're starting, got to go to these events, right? And we do a lot of Zoom right now. So what is really stopping you from just turning on your computer, right? And then just signing on and then just say hi to, whoever is, right across, from you, I'm maybe like 100 miles away from you, right? We can just do this like virtually. Yeah, there's no barrier, right? No entry to barrier. It's technology is making it so much easier to do it now, right? To network with people. right? Not just locally, but across the whole United States. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're obviously shooting this right now on Zoom, so we don't have to be together. Myself, I've been running real estate investing events and groups since 2005-ish. And during the pandemic, we started doing a lot of stuff on Zoom. We were doing happy hours. It wasn't even so much real estate investing related, but I met a bunch of people. I never stopped meeting people, and I'm doing hard business, like money making business with some of those guys and girls today, because I never stopped networking because I can't. I like to network just like you like to create TikToks. So we're gonna switch gears and talk about that now. So about I don't know if it was 6 or 9 months ago, Kevin and I were hanging out, and he's just started creating some short-term or some short form video. And I probably had 5 times as many short form videos on my Instagram page as Kevin had at that point. Now he's got like 1,000 times as many as me. And he's like, I'm going into this thing all in. I'm serious. And he has a ton of great content. So down below, we're going to have all the links to Kevin's channels, all his social channels. So make sure that you guys subscribe to those and follow him, because you can learn a lot on how to market. But I want to talk a little bit about, I don't know what your favorite channel is. So you can tell us whether it's TikTok or Instagram, and what is so fun about creating short-term videos that has you creating so many, Kevin?
It was really, I guess it wasn't really just kind of like fun for me, but it does actually force me to really just produce the creative juice, or to actually make it happen for me. Because every single day I remember, right, like I have to look for contents. So I'm very well aware of what is being put out there, right? And then I would save those reels, those popular videos on TikTok, and then I would just kind of copy them, right? The music that they use, the content, right? And what is popular, what catches people's eyes, so on and so forth. I think that's important. But in the back of building this out is really to just tell people the story, and really just to tell people about the personal brand, right? Kevin, right? And then this is what he does, right? And if you're interested in learning more about Kevin or his business, please DM Kevin. So that kind of opens up the door, and people can just look you up on Instagram, on TikTok, right? Because that builds instant credibility, right? Kevin is doing business actively. He's not like somebody who is like talking about real estate 10 years ago, right? He's still active, right? And social media, right? The posts, it's got dates and so forth. That means that, hey, you're still in the business of doing real estate, right? So I should do business with this person. Yeah.
So when you decided to get pretty serious about short-term video, why did you choose short-term video versus 30-minute YouTube videos as an example?
I thought about, so I guess this is really a biased opinion of mine. And I think that maybe social media can really provide hard data of why this is the case. And I guess it's the case because YouTube is doing shorts as well, right? I think that we have a very short attention span. Nobody is gonna watch like a 30-minute like YouTube video. Me, myself, I'm not type of person. I just don't have that 30 minutes to watch the video from beginning to the end. Even I was just told by a producer that he's got a lot of films on Netflix. And Netflix is saying, hey, we're gonna start paying you less because we started to notice that people are not watching the movies. They're basically just clicking out of the movies after watching for like a minute or two, right? So the royalty that we're paying you is going to be less now. So I think that we are so bombarded with so many things that can distract us. So you only can capture someone else's attention for like, I don't know, a few seconds at the very most, right? Especially the first 2 seconds. If your video is not interesting, right, it doesn't provide valuable, people is gonna just scroll it off the page, right? So I think that's so important right now. I don't know about you, Dylan. Would you watch something that's like more than a minute and is super boring?
Well, no, definitely. So they have an acronym in copywriting, which is the same as creating content, and it's CUB, cub, like a little cub, like a little lion cub or bear cub. So is it confusing, unbelievable, or boring? So you don't want it to be confusing, which some of us, like you and I, if we keep talking about this stuff, we'll confuse everybody because we love it, right? So we go too deep. Unbelievable. Kevin's like, I'm making $7 million a minute with short-term rentals. We know that that's a lie. And then boring is like, hey, Kevin, how are you today? You know, like no one wants to hear that. So you and I know, because we kind of study this stuff, that even with your reels or TikTok, every 3 seconds, almost, you want something to happen or change, because people are like this or like this, so they're constantly swiping up. So I think what's been proven, like you just said, is our attention spans are shorter, and the short form video is really the top of the funnel, as they say. So if somebody sees Kevin and they're like, Kevin's cool, I like that, and I really like short-term rentals, so if I'm going to learn from somebody, I'll follow this guy. Then after seeing 10 or 12 or 15 over the next month, they're like, wow, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. He's not just being silly and running over things with his car or whatever all these other, YouTube and TikTok people do. Then I think what happens is they start to look deeper into what you're offering or what you're teaching. And then I think that's where the longer form comes in. But for sure, the ladder is there now. It's kind of like a reverse ladder, it's a funnel. But you definitely have to put more thought into it. It's okay. We could make one right now, which I'm not ready to do, right? Because my phone's using the timer, but we could make one right now and it'll work. Because sometimes some of that stuff we just come up with is perfect. But to really be serious about creating content, especially short form video, you've got to have things written down. You're saving things, you're studying, you're looking at what songs are popular, the hashtags, and you'll tell me and I'll tell you, we know it's a lot of work, but when you make that commitment, let's talk about each channel. Maybe you don't know your exact numbers, but do you have any idea on Instagram how many followers you've gained in the last year? And how many total views maybe that you've had, just an estimation in the last 12 months. And I don't know if you've been focused even for 12 months or it's been less.
I tell you, we gain about 6,000 followers, and these are organic followers, and we get about 1,000 views per reel. And right now, if you check my page, right, it's all about reels. We put so much emphasis on reels. And I believe that reels is probably the next thing, next big thing. Then just like static posts that, hey, swipe left, so that you can continue. I think that the reels are going to capture a lot more people's engagement than ever. And so we're just really kind of completely shift our strategies just to do reels and reels alone. Yeah.
So, and how many reels do you think that you have on your Instagram channel right now?
Oh, we probably, I don't know, like maybe 300 plus.
300, and your average is 1,000 views, let's say.
Yeah.
Well, that's 300,000 views. So you can buy that, but it isn't as effective and it isn't as deep, and right. It's a real life story right now. I did a reel about a week ago. My friend came to the office, so I like just recorded me walking up to him. He's in the middle of the street. I put on a cool song, put on a filter. There was no real estate investing involved other than my caption said, today I get to spend time with Kevin Lee, one of the greatest real estate investors of all time. And just yesterday, a week or two after I posted it, my views doubled. Because somebody caught it, somebody shared it. I don't know what it was. And that makes me smile. And who really loves that? My friend Kevin, if he's the one who I shared that, or, who I tagged in there. So there's definitely a lot of bonuses to that. And this whole show is not about social media marketing, but the short.
Sometimes it does surprise me. The reels you think are not going to get so many views. They're the ones that are like, you'd be surprised.
Gold.
Why would people look at someone's ring camera, like what ring camera is capturing? And there's I'm sorry to say, there's silly people out there that are just looking for reels, and they actually get captured, by these silly things that we put out, right? So I wouldn't de-emphasize these things that you think will be boring to your audience. Let your audience dictate, what is going to capture their attention, right? And then just push out these contents to your audience. Yeah, and that's maybe how you grow your niche that way too, Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. If you're doing it organically, what they're attracted to is what they're attracted to. And you just don't know. There's been times, probably just like you, I've spent maybe 45 minutes on a reel one or two times, and I'm like, this is going to be the greatest one of all time. And it just gets no views. And I'm not selling anything. I'm not saying come to my, click the link, none of that stuff. I just thought Dylan was cool, and Dylan wasn't cool. So what advice can you give, Kevin, to real estate investors who are shy to do short form video or just haven't started yet? Like how did you get started?
So I was really shy, very very at the very beginning. I didn't want to be like in front of the camera. I don't really, I'm not really articulate, right? And kind of like broken English, if you will, right? My thoughts are always, my speech is always behind my thoughts, right? But you can do a lot of reels without you being the camera, right? Just shooting like a video of maybe a walkthrough of the property. Or you can just do a reel where just pointing things, right? If you want to just do a list of things, right? What is the list of things that you need to do to get a property ready, right? So on and so forth. And just adding like some popular music and just make it that way. Or you can just script it out. I mean, it's no more than 1 minute. And usually what I do is I would just break it into like, just paragraphs. And I would just remember each paragraph. It's 1 or 2 sentences. And then you would just splice them together and make into one real, long video, no more than a minute. And then you would use a caption application, right? It's going to transcribe so that you have caption for people who's got hearing or deaf, right? So you hit both audience that way. I say just get started. I started this maybe a quarter or two ago, Dylan, right? And I was being really intentional about it because I've been told if you're consistent enough, you push out content for like 3 months, right? You're bound to grow. So I want to like kind of destroy that belief or that, so I tried it myself and, look at how many like followers that we have and how many views, like you mentioned, 300,000 views, and that's a lot. But at the end of the day, I put my customers or audience first. Yeah, I want to know, what they're attracted to, and I'm just going to continue to produce those contents that attract their attention. Ultimately, it's going to come back to me, right? Whether it's like doing a business where I get a lot of people that, wholesalers, hey, Kevin, I found this house, do you mind taking a look at it? They DM me on Instagram. So that's like free marketing there. And why don't you just use it? Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely works. I think when we first start doing this stuff, I've been a content creator for a long time. Doesn't mean I'm a good one, but I didn't really have a target or a focus. My focus was more like I'm in Metro Detroit. So if everybody knows me, I'm either going to get the deals or I can wholesale or partner or find money, whatever that is for me to buy and sell real estate in whatever capacity is working at that point, in the economy. And for the last couple of years, I've been a little bit more focused on some other businesses that I'm doing. And I've been able to add some members and get in front of some other people just because of content. And a lot of it starts with the short, the short form video, because that's just what people want to see now. And it's what everybody's doing. So, Kevin, as we're coming close to a close here, what is the best, where do you want people to go to follow you right now?
So they can really just get on Instagram and follow me there. It's Insightful Kevin Lee. Yeah. And they can just go to our website as well if they are interested in selling a home, right? Insightful REI buy houses there. They can just ping me on Instagram as well, and I'm very responsive there. And we can start there that way.
Very cool. And so before I take us out, do you have any last words on either short term rentals or short form video? Everything with Kevin is short, and he's not short. He's tall.
Okay. I like that. I just want to encourage all the listeners to just get started, right? It's never too late. I think the time is now. Yeah. So don't wait. If you have a bug, about real estate, just get on it. There's so much help that you can get in the industry, and there's so many successful stories, so many people that have made it right in this business, and there's always people out there who are open to help you to pay forward. And I think that's what this show is all about, right? Is to help listeners, beginners, to know everything about real estate, right? So that you go out there and you have some kind of knowledge, right? And as you apply this knowledge, you'll get more experience, right? And eventually you'll be, one of the guest speakers on Flip Nerd. Yeah. So you never know. But I think that we can never graduate. Yeah. This is the school of hard knocks. And every day there's always, new things you can learn. Just be humble and be a sponge, right? And you'll learn, you'll be the expert, and one day you'll become a guest speaker on the show.
Yeah, that's an awesome message, Kevin. I think, Flip Nerd's been around for a long time. There's 1,500 plus episodes and videos. So if any of our listeners or watchers today are not yet subscribed, we want you to be armed with what you need to go out there and talk to those people that you're doing business with, just like Kevin says. So make sure to subscribe. You can subscribe on iTunes or Spotify, or if you want to subscribe on YouTube and watch us instead of just listening to us. And of course, if you haven't left us a review, please leave us a big shiny, I don't know, at least 5-star review, right? And just tell the truth. Tell everybody how awesome this show's been. But Kevin's right. That's what it's all about. It's making it happen, taking that first step. And sometimes it's not the easiest step, but it's the most important one. So if you want to learn more about me, there's links to my stuff below. There's links to all of Kevin's channels below. So you can make sure that you follow Kevin and subscribe, so you can figure out how the heck to take over the short-term rentals and short form video. And as we always say, we'll see you guys on the next show.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Dylan.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to today's show. There are 3 ways I can help you start or grow your real estate investing business. If you're a new investor and just getting started, the Flip Nerd Investor Coaching Program is the most effective program in America. I've been coaching and mentoring new real estate investors for 10 years, and my students have literally purchased thousands and thousands of properties. Many of them started with little to no experience at all. Our program is a paint-by-numbers program where we tell you exactly what to do week by week to make sure that you don't get distracted on your way to results. We show you how to build a real business, not just create another job for yourself. New memberships are limited. You can learn more and apply or schedule a call with me and my team at flipnerd.com/coaching. If you're an experienced investor doing a minimum of 10 deals a year, up to 500 deals a year or more, or have a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio already, you should check out our powerful Investor Fuel Real Estate Investor Mastermind. Over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors are members, and it's not uncommon for our members to 2 to 5x their business just from getting around other members at Investor Fuel. At Investor Fuel, each of us are business advisors to one another's businesses, but we don't stop at business. We focus heavily on becoming better people and living fuller lives. If you're looking for fuel for your business or fuel for your life, please check out investorfuel.com. Applications and interviews are required, as most investors are not a fit for our community. Please learn more at investorfuel.com. If you're not ready for coaching or masterminds but eager to start learning more about investing, please join our private Facebook group by visiting flipnerd.com/Facebook. New members get access to free training from us right here at flipnerd.com, and it's a community to safely ask your questions, a great place to get started. Simply go to flipnerd.com/Facebook to request your access today.